You don't want to be strong. You want to stop suffering. And it was precisely this desire that created a generation of emotional soldiers who confuse coldness with control, silence with wisdom, detachment with strategy.
This video is not entertainment. It's a psychological map divided into 3 stages. And if you've ever felt like being too strong has started to disconnect you, then maybe this content is your last chance to come back. Collapse never warns when it's coming. It doesn't send a signal. It doesn't knock on the door. It explodes. Suddenly. And in that instant, the very second before your mind goes down, is when the superpower appears. Not as relief, but as a mutation. What we call resilience is not just emotional survival, it's mental re-engineering in a state of emergency. The technical term is reframing under pressure. But the real effect is something bordering on the superhuman, the ability to convert collapse into clarity, pain into leverage, despair into strategy. The ordinary mind, faced with chaos, collapses. The reprogrammed mind, faced with the same chaos, reinvents the meaning of the moment and acts. No longer the question, why is this happening to me, but rather, what is being shaped in me? No longer this broke me, but this revealed who I really am when everything else disappears. There's something sacred and dark about this superpower. Ancient philosophers whispered about it. Stoics like Seneca and Epictetus believed that nothing external could hurt us without our internal consent. That pain was inevitable, but suffering was a choice. Machiavelli, with surgical coldness, said that those who do not learn not to be good are condemned in the face of those who have no morals. Both spoke of the same power but from different perspectives. One as enlightenment, the other as a weapon. And perhaps that is where the problem begins. Because when this power awakens in someone who has only known collapse, it does not come with an ethics manual. It comes as survival, and survivors transform any skill into a shield or a sword. Imagine an emotional battlefield. A man loses everything: betrayal, humiliation, public failure. He falls. But instead of sinking, he changes the story in the middle of the fall. He stops interpreting the world based on what he feels and begins to reinterpret what he feels based on what he needs to do. This is not denial. This is transmutation. The pain is still there, but now it works for him. And when this happens, something inside him breaks, or rather is forged. Then emerges a version of himself that does not beg for relief, but demands control. That does not seek comfort, but dominion. This is the birth of the emotional untouchable. Someone who does not react to chaos, he reads it, he maps it, and responds like someone playing chess in the middle of a fire. But no one is born like this. This power is trained. Visualization of failures, mental rehearsals of rejection, verbal repetition during pain, silence in the face of offense. Each little training is a hammer blow to the old emotional programming. The brain begins to understand that pain is no longer an enemy, but a signal, a code. And when it decodes this signal, fear dies. Because fear, in the end, is just the feeling of being at the mercy of something. But whoever masters the meaning of pain, masters the system. But everything that makes you invincible carries a price, and that price has not yet been charged, yet. Because this power is only the first layer, the most seductive, the most useful, the most addictive. The problem is that, once activated, it doesn't come alone. It brings an echo, a shadow, a consequence that no one explains to you in times of despair. But it comes. It always comes. At first, it's liberating. Chaos strikes, and you don't tremble. People scream, and you remain silent. Something goes wrong, and while everyone runs, you calculate. This is power. This is dominance. This is what everyone seeks. But it's also the beginning of a silent prison. The first sign is not physical isolation. It's the absence of an echo. No one confronts you anymore. No one says you overreacted. People obey you, follow you, but they stop seeing you as human. Because little by little, without realizing it, you stop bleeding in front of others. And when you never bleed, others stop treating you like someone who could also die inside. This is the cost that no one explains to you. The superpower that shields you from pain, makes you invisible to affection. Strategic coldness becomes your new skin. And this skin doesn't feel, it doesn't absorb, it only protects, it only calculates, it only operates. Little by little, conversations become mechanical, affections bureaucratic, intimacy inefficient. You no longer connect with the pain of others because you have forgotten your own. And when someone breaks down in front of you, you don't welcome it. You analyze it, judge it, correct it, as if the pain were just a misinterpretation and not a reminder that we are still alive. The philosopher Nietzsche said that those who have a why can face any how. But he didn't say that this why could become an obsession. When the why is to survive at any cost, the how becomes a machine that grinds everything that is fragile, including what is most human in you. What was a virtue becomes a vice. What was protection becomes a permanent shield. The ability to endure pain turns into a silent pride, which rejects help, pushes away connections, and pretends to be absolutely independent. And the worst part, it works. For a while. Because when no one challenges you anymore, when everyone just agrees, when your opinion is never questioned, you are no longer growing. You are fossilizing. Emotional power, without restraint, creates a bubble where you are always right, always correct, always above average. But what seems like dominance is actually just solitude disguised as prestige. You don't want to listen to advice anymore, because you believe that no one understands what you've been through. And maybe you're right. But this certainty in isolation also condemns you. Look at the great leaders who have fallen, those who were idolized for their decisiveness, composure, and relentless courage. Many of them succumbed not to weakness, but to the absence of limits. They became emperors without a mirror. Men so armored that not even their own conscience could penetrate them. Strength saved them, and then destroyed them. Because excessive emotional invulnerability kills empathy. And empathy is what keeps you anchored in the real world. The world will reward you for being unshakable. It will call you a leader, an example. It will give you power, influence, respect. But all of this comes with interest. And the interest is paid in the most silent currency of all, distance. First emotional, then relational, then spiritual. You begin to realize that even surrounded by people, no one really sees you. No one dares tell you that you are wrong. No one confronts you with the truth. Because you have trained the world to fear you, not to love you. And sometimes you don't even recognize yourself anymore. The cruelest thing is that you don't even notice the change. Because it is gradual. One day you laugh less, another day you avoid a hug. Then you start to think that displays of affection are a waste of time. Vulnerability, weakness, emotions, risk. And without realizing it, you become what you once swore to fight. Someone who survived pain, but forgot how to feel alive. The superpower that saved you now demands your humanity in exchange for your strength. It wants you to forget what it was like to crawl, so that you will never again have empathy for those who are still on the ground. It wants you to become a monument of strength, but empty inside. And the most tragic thing? Because to the world, you will be winning, but inside you will have died in silence. But there is still a way out. A nearly invisible path where the force continues to exist, but not in opposition to humanity, in partnership with it. But this path requires a kind of discipline that few are willing to undertake. A strength that comes not from toughness, but from choosing when to let your guard down with intention. And that is where true mastery begins. You don't have to fall apart to feel, nor do you have to fall apart to be human. True power begins when you understand that strength lies not in resisting pain, but in listening to it without being controlled by it. That empathy is not weakness, it's high-performance social technology. And that if you've lost the ability to be affected, you've also lost the compass that made you trustworthy to others and whole to yourself. The way out lies in a decision. Not to suppress your emotions, but to decode them. Use them as data, not as destiny. Be the translator of your own chaos. Great masters of this art are not the coldest, they are the most conscious. Mandela endured years of imprisonment, not to become impenetrable, but to emerge with a sense of compassion so radical that he could dismantle his adversaries without having to scream. Viktor Frankl, amid the horror of the concentration camps, discovered that those who have a why resist any how, but that this why needs to be anchored in something beyond their own ego. That's the essence, having a code, internal rules that limit power when it threatens to overstep ethics. And that code can't be generic. It needs to be specific, ruthless, intimate. I don't use silence to punish. I never fake emotion to control. If I lose empathy, I lose the game. These are the invisible boundaries that separate the strategic monster from the master who still remembers his own name. The world will ask you to be sharp, but you have to choose where to keep that blade and when to put it down. Because every sharp blade cuts both ways. So find your safe space. It could be a person, a journal, a moment in the dark when you reconnect with the part of you that doesn't need to be invincible. That space isn't weakness, it's maintaining identity. It's proof that behind the armor there's still someone breathing. Someone who knows that true power isn't being unbreakable all the time. It's knowing where to break with awareness, where to feel without collapsing, where to turn when the whole world only demands that you be strong. This is not regression, it is balance. And balance, on the battlefield of power, is what separates the monsters from the masters. Be honest, have you ever felt that no matter how hard you try, no one truly sees you? It's not about lacking value, it's about knowing how to make it visible. The social game isn't fair. If you don't know the rules, you're left behind, but you don't have to stay invisible. In the Anti-Weak audiobook, I share 22 strategies to master interactions, gain respect, and step out of the shadows. Click the link in the description now and start the transformation only you can make happen.